All right. Okay, the live stream seems to be working. So hey guys, hope you're doing well. Fran here, obviously, and I'll be covering my updated team just very briefly when the viewers come in. And I just wanted to detail the changes that I've made on the team. The main reason why I've made some changes from the previous video that I had is simply just because of the availability of some options. So for me, it was quite appealing to actually get Borna Sosa because a lot of I think reputable Croatian media outlets are actually suggesting that he will be able to start. The previous concern, of course, was that he was injured heading up towards the tournament, so we didn't really know which tournament game he would start. Versus Morocco, though, I think that's a great chance to get a clean sheet. So I really like Borna Sosa at 3.5. And he also has been a very attacking player for both Croatia and also specifically Stuttgart at the Bundesliga. So I am going for Sosa. And that means I have the budget to spread around the keepers, which is why I've gone for Costa as well. It also allows me to sidestep Cancelo, in my opinion. One of the big changes in my draft is I have gone for Trippier over Shaw. Maybe that's incorrect. I think Shaw can obviously have a fantastic game versus Iran, but I also liked hemorrhaging that sort of risk on England by going for some other teams that have fantastic clean sheet opportunities. I'm a little bit sad that I have to forgo, I suppose, my Argentinian defense option in Otamendi or Emi Martinez, but I've ultimately opted to go for a pairing of Costa and Lautaro Martinez, and that allows me to get away from someone like Fati. Fati was someone I actually considered quite a bit heading towards the changing of the rules, really, or our understanding the rules for the wild card, and that's why I've gone for that option there. I'm also quite happy to keep Skov Olsen and Bergwijn on the team. Their projected data isn't actually particularly good, so the betting houses don't really have much great projections for assists and goals from Bergwijn and Skov Olsen, but I do think these are both players who have great form simply for their national teams and also respectively in their domestic leagues. And so I would like to incorporate them into my team. There are other options that we can talk about at 7 million for Bergwijn. I think Hakim Ziyech from Morocco, if you feel like that one match day punt versus Croatia could be interesting. That's an exciting option too because he actually has fantastic stats for Morocco. But I've ultimately gone for this team because I still wanted to keep a punt really, and the main actual ace in the hole, I suppose, with this team is going for Bruno Fernandes over someone like Leroy Sané, and that's pretty much how I've detailed my team so far. So let's just see. So there's some chat questions coming in. Harold, how are you doing? Hope you're doing well. Henry, thank you for being a member for 12 months. You've been supporting the channel for a long time, both on Discord and also on YouTube. So thank you so much. Whereas Ronaldo, please don't unsub, but I don't think I'm going to be keeping Ronaldo. I just feel like Ronaldo actually might be a better punt than Mbappe, but I think the effective ownership of Mbappe scares me. And he still actually has better goal scoring odds than Ronaldo. I just think Ronaldo, so with the stomach bug issues, maybe he can play less minutes than expected, and Mbappe will be playing that striker position because Benzema's not there. He'll be playing up front with Giroud, and I think it's a great opportunity to own Mbappe versus Australia. What do I think of Perisic? I think he's a great option. Um, Peter, is this my final team? This is basically my final team. Lasitha thinks it might not be, or are you responding to the question about will it be possible to upgrade your team by transferring out an expensive player that's played? Yeah, that's actually a thought concept that a lot of people have talked about, and I do think that's possible. I really think that based on the rules, if we interpret the Matchday 2 wildcard to be as it is, like a lot of people think that you can change your wildcard and in Matchday 2 that you can completely change your Matchday 3 team. I can't see a reason why you wouldn't be able to do that for Matchday 1. So a lot of people will probably think about if, let's say, one of the big guns in your forward positions blanks, you could simply just move him into a very expensive midfielder, and that's an option. I obviously we haven't played this version of World Cup Fantasy before. They have changed the rules. They have said that the rules have changed, so I think it's a wait and see. But I think that is going to be a possibility because the player is already locked. No, that's a fair point, Henry. We'll have to just see because I'm not sure if the locked and unlocked features actually work exactly as the rules state. Is Plata good for 4.5? Hey Jankster, how are you doing? Finally got the deadline stream going a little bit late, but I wanted to do the stream anyways, just to answer any questions last minute, or even talk about, or even just tinker with my team. I mean, I'm Spanish, and I've got one Spanish player on the team, and that doesn't seem good enough because we actually have a decent squad this World Cup, I would say. A lot of young talent that I would hopefully like to pick in my team. Potentially Ansu Fati is the answer. So I'm going to think about that. Hey Gronk, haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing well. I think let's go back to the original question though. So is Plata good as a 4.5? So I mean, so Plata at the midfield position, I think he competes with another player like Fasnacht, right? Fasnacht is someone who plays for Switzerland, has a great game as well. So when you look at Christian Fasnacht at 4.5, that's another interesting pick because if you're going for a match day 2 wildcard, you've got another option here who actually has quite good goals to assist ratios and goal involvement overall per game for the Swiss national team at a 4.5 price. I think that's quite a steal if you want to think about these 4.5 options. So that's kind of my opinion on the midfielders. I would say you could definitely go for the Ecuadorian punt, but as I said, Fasnacht I think is an interesting option. The gambling odds do support that he's actually a very out of priced pick. So I do like him as well if you wanted to incorporate a 4.5 mid into your team. And then obviously at 5, if for some reason you don't have Argentine attack and Argentine defense, you can simply go for someone like Rodrigo de Paul if you have the money to stretch there. So how are you guys lining up your teams? I mean, and also what do you think of my team? Do you think I should go for the Fati option with Emi Martinez, or because one of my concerns, of course, is Saudi Arabia. I really find it hard. I find it hard pressed to think that they can actually score versus this Argentina team. This Argentina team has been very resolute. I actually watched them live probably a couple months ago when they were playing the Finalissima versus Italy. Obviously, Italy were a team that were very poor. They made some radical changes immediately after that tournament. So a lot of the old guard were changed, and now they're incorporating some youth players, and we'll see them probably in the next Euros. But it's interesting. Is Dumfries essential? I can make my defense much stronger by taking him to Trippier and spreading the funds. I don't think he's essential, my friend. I think what people are looking into Dumfries, and the reason why he's interesting is simply his goal involvement is very good. And ultimately, if you're going for a one match day punt, I can understand sidestepping Dumfries. I think even Cancelo, for example, his ownership is sky high, and you could argue he's essential. I wouldn't say anyone in this tournament is essential outside of Messi. I really think Messi is essential. I think he has to be the first captaincy option for most players. Outside of that, I think you can completely create a team based on your wants and your needs. Leroy Sané, I've changed Sané in my team for Bruno Fernandes myself. I just feel like the Bruno Fernandes punt is quite exciting to me. I think he plays no matter what. He's in form. Second of all, you don't really know whether Ronaldo might be rested for match day 1. That could be a possibility. They could overlook Ghana in that sense where they kind of allow Ronaldo rest, maybe. And Bruno would be in a prime position to be the penalty taker as well, which is a huge boost compared to someone like Leroy Sané, who still has to do well versus quite an open, I would say, Japanese team. But Sané's national team stats aren't anything major really to look at. Bruno Fernandes is on that sort of level as well, and potentially a better punt versus Ghana. So that's why I've gone for Bruno Fernandes over Leroy Sané. Some of the fantasy statistics sites give best odds to Sarabia. Yes, Sarabia actually has fantastic odds to score a goal. Both Sarabia and Fati have great odds. The issue is, though, who starts for the Spanish national team? You can have Ferran Torres there, you can have Sarabia, and you can have Ansu Fati. There's only 2 positions for the 3 of those players. So I think one of those players will be left out. Marco Asensio and Morata will compete for the forward spot, and therefore, if you pick Sarabia or if you pick Ansu Fati, or even if you pick Ferran Torres, you have to deal with the potential threat that Luis Enrique could bench one of them. Now, the last friendly game for Spain, we saw Sarabia play with Ansu Fati, so maybe you could actually think Spain are going to play with the same team again. But very often, especially even if you go back and cast your mind back to the Euros, you'll see that Luis Enrique is very happy to actually rotate his wingers, specifically if he thinks that they're out of shape. What was interesting, though, was Sarabia and Ansu Fati were both substituted off. And that might just suggest that Luis Enrique wants them to be fresh for this game, if you kind of interpret it like so. Because some managers, if you see the way that they outline their World Cup friendly teams, is some of the players that they're not expecting to play actually played the full 90 minutes, right, as starters in their most recent friendly. And that's probably so that they can actually stay match fit and come on as potential bench options, whereas some of the other players are just simply getting rested. If you interpret that as maybe Ferran Torres getting rested, you could do that too. That's why I think there's a huge risk behind Sarabia and Fati, whereas I don't think there's that much of a risk with Lautaro. I really struggle to see why he wouldn't start for the next game, even though he didn't start or even feature actually in the previous Argentinian friendly. Will Martinez be in the first team? Which Martinez we talk about? A couple Martinez's in this tournament. Are we talking about Emi Martinez? If so, I think absolutely yes. If we're talking Lisandro Martinez, I don't think that's a must. I think Lisandro Martinez could miss out. Is this my final team? I think 95% there. I mean, I might still have some panic decisions to make in the next 32 minutes-ish, but we'll see. What time's the deadline? I'm actually not sure. Does anybody actually know exactly? I think it's just kickoff, right? So in 32 minutes. Can you make a transfer before kickoff? Yeah, of course. It's because the deadline's at kickoff. Hey Fran, thoughts on my team? High Tech XEO. Nopert. I think so. So the issue with Nopert is I don't really know if he's going to play. So I would actually probably try and avoid the Netherlands goalkeepers. Um, as far as Dumfries, Shaw, Mela, Pavard, Sosa. So I have a slight issue with Pavard because I really don't know if he's going to start. I think Koundé could potentially play, but maybe Pavard will play. I think it's worth, I suppose, the gamble because he's quite cheap. Fine. As I said, probably the keeper I would touch is Nopert. And then in terms of your midfield, I think it's fantastic. No issues with your midfield. I mean, it's practically the same as mine, except for you have a stronger pick in Sarabia over me. And then in terms of your front line, once again, another fantastic front line too. With Mbappe, of course, the 12th man. Will most definitely wildcard Matchday too. I think it's a lovely team, my friend. I think the only thing I think about is what to do if the Netherlands keeper doesn't play. I would say it's very hard to actually suggest who's the correct Netherlands keeper. We don't have enough information. I wouldn't take that risk if I were you, but otherwise the team looks great. Bergwijn and Eriksson or Di Maria and Sarabia. I like Di Maria and Sarabia because I think Di Maria is the absolute best midfield pick. I've got Fernandes, who's more expensive than Di Maria, but I have more expectations from Di Maria. Also, I need to change my bench order. I've just realized because this was my bench order as it was set up for the Fati variation of the team, so I definitely don't want to miss out on Mr. Lautaro Martinez. All right, who am I subbing him on for? So just in terms of order, obviously I've got Portuguese backline, Uruguay at the back, and then my next player is going to be Spanish, so Laporte. There we go. So yeah, that's how I'm going to be fielding out. Thoughts on Musiala? Look, I love him as a football player. He's in the form of his life when you look at Bundesliga and the fact that he's been able to get a lot of starts because, sorry, I was going to say Gerd Muller, but obviously I was thinking about World Cup. But Thomas Muller, of course, has been benched. What is wrong with my green screen? Right, let's see if this is any better. Apologies, guys. A little bit of tech issues right now. But no, I think Musiala is a great pick. And now I'm purple. Very interesting. Right. Looks like I have to just literally stay right in front of the old camera here. I'm actually gonna go fix my video issues. Just give me one sec. I'm not sure what's going on. Now, hopefully that works. Apologies if it doesn't. But let's actually just go back to answering some questions then. Why is my green screen doing this? This is depressing. Perisic to Sarabia. I think that's a great pun. I think so because the Croatian ceiling isn't very high. Got to fix my. I'm not sure what's going on with my camera. Doesn't seem to actually detect green light today. Apologies, guys. Looking cute. Thank you, TV12. Unfortunately, my camera's not enjoying myself today, so I think it's hopefully been fixed. Picked Ronaldo, Neymar, and Messi with Mbappe so I mean, that's a fantastic front line. Cristiano Ronaldo actually is fantastic. There's no sun actually because I'm living in London right now, and there's literally no sun around. Best 5.5 goalkeeper, I think Martinez actually is better than Pickford. Because the way I would give this logic is who would I prefer? Like, would I want someone like Otamendi or Shaw or Trippier at 5, and would I want someone like Emi Martinez and Pickford at 5.5? I think because Shaw and Trippier are so much better as options at 5, I think Emi Martinez therefore also is a better option. He also has higher clean sheet odds simply if you just wanted to look at that point of view. Same price, better clean sheet odds. Pick the right keeper. Pick the one who's probably going to get an easier clean sheet, which on betting statistics actually suggests it's going to be Damian Emi Martinez. Why are you starting Costa over Roche? Isn't the Uruguayan game first? You know, this is you're completely right. You're completely right. Oh, yeah, yeah. They just rotate them mid-tournament. Basically, because last night I was actually on a draft. What is going on with my camera? No idea. But last night I was on a draft feature. I hope you guys enjoy like the green effects behind me. But last night I was looking at a variation where I was going for Ansu Fati plus Emi Martinez, which is why obviously Costa replaced him, and therefore he's in the wrong position. But yeah, of course Rocher should play ahead of him. Hmm. Just have to make do with this camera setup. What do I think about Perisic? I mean, I like him as a player, but I'm not really sure if he's the punt that I would go for personally, because Perisic's ceiling is quite high over maybe the first two match days, but when you're just looking at a punt for match day one, Morocco being potentially the more defensive team, I think when you look at that group, Croatian and Belgium's probably best game is going to be enjoyed when they play versus Canada. Because even though Canada is quite an exciting team, I think they're defensively quite poor. When you look at their qualification statistics, they actually conceded more goals than some of the other top teams there in that region, and therefore I think Canada is probably the team where if you're looking to punt over the Croatian Belgian assets, you can get the most enjoyment from them via the Canada game, as opposed to the Morocco game where I think the ceiling is quite low. One of the issues with Belgium as well is I think they've just completely dropped off a cliff. Like 55% of that squad is a very aged squad. They have Lukaku missing as well, and I don't think that Openda or Batshuayi are comparable options there. So the actual ceiling of someone like De Bruyne is going to lower. And when we talk about players like Eden Hazard, he's dropped off a cliff, and it doesn't seem like the coach Roberto Martinez is any more interested in playing someone like Trossard, who's been in much better form when we look at domestically how he's played this year and how he could potentially service a role within the left wing back structure or even the left inside forward position that Eden Hazard occupies usually. So that's kind of the big damning thing there. I'm going to move a little bit to the right so that we don't have to deal with that kind of green screen lighting. How many captains can we choose? I mean, you can change your captain an unlimited amount of times, but once your first captain is played, sorry, you no longer are able to change it more than once. So let's say I go with Messi, he plays his game, he's locked in the points where the game has started and he's locked in. I can no longer change my captaincy any more times than after that. So Mbappe will be my second captain, and once Mbappe plays, I can't change my captaincy anymore. It's not like, for example, in previous games, or for example in the UCL, where you can change it on each day of the match day. So I can't go from a Qatar captain to an Iran captain, and then to an Argentine captain. Actually, what I can do is change my captaincy anytime because the games itself are the locking period. So you could technically go for a captaincy for the Netherlands team after you've gone for, let's say, Harry Kane captaincy. So let's say Harry Kane captaincy fails, you can go straight to the Netherlands. But after that, I can't change it anymore. So I think the preferred captaincy option for my team is going Messi first, then Mbappe second. Yeah, it's such a good idea, Henry. Great shout. All right, that's done. What do we think about Bellingham? I think it's a fantastic pick. He's been on my cheat sheet, of course, as a midfielder, and frankly, I think he's a fantastic player. I would love to have him at Real Madrid. God. Thoughts on Ecuadorian defender? I would probably go for Estupiñán. Estupiñán, I think, is a good punt versus Qatar. It really depends because actually you could go for a Qatar forward as well. The 4.5 option from Qatar is actually quite interesting. What do you think about Martinez, goalkeeper? I think he's fantastic. I think he's one of the best keepers at 5.5. Can we make transfers mid game week as long as they haven't played yet? Apparently, yes. I think so. But the thing is, Vidal, is we're not absolutely sure if that's possible. I think, yeah, you can change unlocked players for unlocked players if that's what you're suggesting. But Henry, I think also like when we talk about locked and locked players, I think some people are saying that you can change a locked player for a locked player and then change an unlocked for an unlocked, right? If you use your 2 free transfers. Do you kind of get what I'm saying, Henry? I think that's one of the suggestions that people are making. Where let's say if one of your big guns who's locked in has played, you just replace him with a Qatar 4.5 forward who's also played, probably done nothing. But I'm not really sure how that works. But that would only be a good play if you're wildcarding match day 2, right? Because you don't really want to live with the Qatari forward after that. No, but what I'm saying is like, let's say if I have Harry Kane, he plays, I swap locked to locked as a transfer, and then I've got extra budget to change unlocked to unlocked. Does that make sense? Because you have 2 free transfers, right? So you go locked to locked, and then you go unlocked to unlocked. So I think that's one of the interesting things that we're not 100% sure about. Frankly, to be honest, these rules are a little bit absurd. I think it actually involves a lot of player involvement and understanding, and because we're not 100% sure whether they actually work out as intended, and even though Let's Talk FPL and Andy specifically has been doing such a great job in illuminating us with the rules and how they're supposed to work, there's a very huge possibility that they might not work based on how the game is coded, and we could see some epic fails, right? But I think everyone is planning towards match day 2. I wouldn't have done a team including, let's say, a Spanish defender for that reason. I've also gone for some picks like Sosa, who I don't think is particularly exciting over the three games, but I think just for that one game versus Morocco is quite good, even though he's really cheaply priced. Obviously, Rocher and Costa wouldn't work out as pairing if I wasn't going to match day 2 wildcard, so that's my plan. What's the best 5 million midfield? I think Rodrigo de Paul is the best 5 million midfielder. We were talking about 4.5 million midfielders as well, and I think the exciting option really is to go for Christian Fasnacht from Switzerland. So I was just showing him to the chat previously. I'm not sure why he's not showing up. Probably have to just refresh my page. So Christian Fasnacht from Switzerland, very interesting 4.5 midfielder as well. So that's one point you can go for. Who's the best 8 million midfielder? It's a good question. I don't think the 8 million bracket is very good, if I remember. I think that kind of straddles some very good 7.5 picks and some very good 8.5 picks. Let's have a look, though, at the midfielders for 8.5. For 8, sorry. Yeah, these players at 8 are all disinteresting to me because you missed out on Modric, and I think therefore Eriksen is the only good option, I would say, because Tadic versus Brazil sounds terrible. Coleman, I'm not even ready to say he starts, so I think that's very tricky. So I'd say Eriksen's the best pick here. And if you believe in Hazard, I guess you could go Hazard, but I think I've lost my faith in what was once a Belgian magician, sadly. I'm pretty sure after reading the rules, no matter what, if one of the selling/buying players locked, the move doesn't happen until the end of the match day. Yeah, okay, fair enough, Henry. People say you can change your 12-man boost if you remove first all player in your team. How would your team be with Mbappe and 12-man? I can't change it. I've tried it. I can make a new account if you guys want in around 18 minutes if you guys think that's fine. But I can't be bothered, But I'll show you what my thoughts are on spending the extra 1 million in my team. So let's say Mbappe is my 12th man. I've got 1 million left in the bank. What would I do? First thing I would say is I'd look at my team. Does anybody look like they could be upgraded? I think first of all, you could maybe go from Laporte to Alba, a little bit of a higher attacking ceiling there. I think you can also simply just go for a pairing of, let me think about this. Would I go away from Bergwijn? Potentially. I could maybe go Sarabia as well over Bergwijn. I think that could be interesting. Maybe Sarabia as an upgrade, and then I'd probably also move Laporte to Jordi Alba. That could be quite interesting for me. You could also go for an option where maybe you just simply upgrade the Portuguese keeper, but I don't think that there's any value in doing that. I think you can obviously play around with Emi Martinez, going Ansu Fati as well, and then maybe upgrading Bergwijn again if you wanted a different type of coverage of Argentina. But I think, yeah, my team would just be an upgrade of Alba, probably an upgrade of Bergwijn as well, maybe into Sarabia. I think that could be an interesting pick because, as you can see here, I don't really have any Spanish attacking options. Sarabia, I would say, probably has nailed down that Spanish right wing position more so than Ansu Fati or Ferran Torres have nailed that left wing position. And we saw Nico Williams also compete on the left, so I think we have some ideas from Luis Enrique as to what his depth looks like. But yeah, I think that's the situation. I think you might just want to move off of Bergwijn. Whether you actually want to do that is probably a different question. I think a lot of people see Bergwijn as essential. It's quite tough to actually spend that money. If you rejig it as well, I suppose what you could do is maybe go for... it's tough because we don't know the Netherlands keeper. If we knew the Netherlands keeper, I would very happily suggest going for Cancelo, right? Because Cancelo is the same price as Dumfries, but the Netherlands keeper would be 4.5 million. You would save 0.5 million from the other player there. It's very tough to actually see how I'd spend this 1 million in the structure. Maybe I would actually go away from Sosa. I guess Ricardo Rodriguez is a good punt if you wanted to simply upgrade Sosa. But I think Sosa's got great odds. I think Ricardo Rodriguez as well isn't necessarily interesting because the Swiss national team don't really boast very good defensive statistics. If we were to drop Lautaro Martinez a little bit, I think you could, as I said, go maybe on Ansu Fati. You'd save 0.5 million there, and then you have more money to potentially upgrade Laporte, and then, or you can just keep Laporte. Maybe you can go Otamendi. That's also quite a cheap way to go Argentina. So let's say we go Fati. You have an option here, and then you probably remove Costa here. Probably, I would maybe remove Laporte in this situation. It doesn't feel very good doing this, but I guess you could go Emi Martinez. Sorry, I think he's called Damien in the game, which is his first name. And then you can go for, maybe you can go for João Cancelo here, right? If you have that extra 0.5. So you go for João Cancelo. And then you could maybe even upgrade Bergwijn as well to Sarabia. Whether you actually interpret that as an upgrade is a different thing. But I think those are the options that I would like to think about if I had that extra money. So that's an option. Thoughts on Perisic and Azpilicueta? I think he's fantastic. I think both are fantastic options. I think Perisic is not that interesting. I think Sarabia is a little bit more interesting because Costa Rica seems like a game where Spain and the Spanish forwards could actually get some better picks and some better points specifically. I do think that the best 5.5 midfielder in the game by far is my man De Arrascaeta here from Uruguay. I'm hoping we actually get some huge punts from him because Korea as a standalone game is just fantastic. And his ownership is incredibly low. Very, very low. I mean, let's go through some of the hidden gems of the game. We've got 14 minutes. I think it'd be a good time for me to actually run through some of my interpretations of some of the budget players. So let's go through... What position do you guys want to run through first? Do you guys want to run through maybe the midfielders together? He's a glorified Jacob Murphy. That's pretty offensive, bro. I think to go for the double 5.5 is a bit of a punt. Di Maria and Eriksen or De Bruyne and Depal. I'd probably go Di Maria and Eriksen, my friend. What about a forward line of Messi, Neymar, and Ansu Fati to get a defense line of Dumfries, Cancelo, Mela, Trippier, and Ultimate? That's fantastic, Diego. I think that's a great team. What's the strategy of 12th man? I chose Messi for it, but as I see, many people picked Mbappe. So the reason why people are picking Mbappe is two reasons, right? First of all, you have an unlimited budget for your 12th man. And then the second question is, who are you going to captain this game week? Because think about it, you can't captain your 12th man. So does it make sense to actually does it actually make sense to 12th man Messi? Not really, because you want to captain Messi, right? So that's why people have gone for Messi. Another thing is Mbappe is the most expensive player in the game. So what does that mean? If Mbappe is your starting, okay, I've made the mistake here, as I said in my team selection video, but if Mbappe is my 12th man, I would actually have an additional 1 million budget in my team because his transfer as a 12th man doesn't cost any money. He's going to play for my team for free, basically. So with the remaining 100 million, I can actually make a stronger team. That's basically the suggestion, I would say, the improvement in budget that you get, and also Messi actually simply being a better captaincy option versus compared to Mbappe, at least. Let's just say that. Maybe in the end, Mbappe will turn out as a better captaincy option, which is why I've kind of kept Mbappe here so that I have a second captaincy option. And I think Mbappe has higher odds than Neymar. Some people might disagree. Mbappe could be an interesting punt. You could also go for Cristiano Ronaldo as a 12-man option. So you guys want to go for midfield and defense. Let's do that. Do you think Qatar scam a goal, or is an Ecuador defender an easy clean sheet? Look, I think you could go into that game hoping that it could be 0-0, but that's probably not going to happen. I think it might just be a 1-0 game. I think having 1 million in the bank is huge, even if you just keep it in the bank. Yeah, I know, but I can't change my 12 man, so that's how it works. Hatem or Plata. I think Plata is probably a touch more interesting. If you rest your side, 12 man cancelled, reset your side. The thing is, I can't when I reset my team, my 12 man doesn't get cancelled though, because Neymar just stays. I've done it already. I don't really want to do it again because I can't be bothered to change my team one last time. But it doesn't work. Yeah, I changed Sane for Fernandes. I think Sane's still a good option, but I think Fernandes is a better option. But good on you for noticing. Let's go through the midfielders anyways. Foden or Valverde, I probably wouldn't go for either of them. I think they're both. I think first of all, Valverde is overpriced, and I think Foden is a little bit underpriced. Let's just fix the camera. Boom. The camera's not focusing on my face. This is terrible. Right, much better. Let's go back into the picks there. So we have midfield. Let's go midfielders first. I think first of all, De Bruyne is a little bit overpriced. I think Fernandes is a great pick. Sane is a great pick. Skip Bernardo Silva. I'm gonna skip everyone until I think find someone interesting. I think Asensio is actually quite an interesting punt, especially if you think Morata won't start. If you're match day 2 wildcard, I think Asensio is a very interesting punt. And as a Spaniard, I'm actually quite excited about what Asensio can bring to the team. Luka Modric, I think a little bit low ceiling game. Morocco probably would sidestep him. Di Maria, I think the best midfield option in the game for match day 1. Saka probably skip because I don't really know whether he starts. There's a very high chance that both Foden and Saka could start each game because you're looking at Sterling as the comparative winger. So very hard to pick between them. Musiala, I think he's going to be benched, so I think I would avoid him. Eriksen, I think is fantastic. I would go for him. Jude Bellingham, I love him as a player, but whether he's actually going to be worth it at 7.5, probably not. I would love to. I would be if you're stretched for 7.5, I'd probably go for it. Pulisic, because you're just going for a match day 1 punt. Previously in the past, I was going to say that obviously the first 3 stages is actually very tough because you got England in the second game, so Pulisic doesn't seem appealing. But because he just has to play versus Wales, I think Pulisic is a decent punt as well. Perisic, similar logic there with Pulisic, where I think he's good for this match day, but not the highest ceiling. I'd probably avoid him. He does scream to me a little bit more expensive. I think Sarabia is actually the true best 7.5. And then let's move on. I think 7 million. I think I'm definitely slapping that on Bergwijn. No one else interesting there. Ziyech is very, very interesting as a punt. This guy is he's basically the main man for this Morocco team. So I think if you're looking for a match day 1 punt versus Croatia, I think Ziyech is interesting. If you really want a huge differential, probably him. Kimmich, I think I actually prefer Goretzka. I think Goretzka actually has better assist statistics than Kimmich. So I'd probably go Goretzka in that situation. I know Kimmich probably people will actually rate as the better football player, but doesn't really matter when it comes to goals and assists, right? And then I'll probably skip Milinkovic-Savic, even though I love him as a football player. No one really interesting right now. Definitely not going to touch Forgan Hazard. See, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So here you've got the 3-piece of the Denmark team. Look, I think they're all okay options. I think Damsgaard is probably the one to avoid because I don't think he starts. I think Scott Olsen's the better pick, but then obviously you can go for Lindstrom if for some reason you don't really want Scott Olsen in your team. If you want to move ahead, Kudus is actually a good punt, but I think Portugal is the toughest game. So maybe with your wildcarding match day 2, he could be a great punt there, right? Especially if we see him play in a very attacking position. But for match day 1, probably an avoid. These are all players I wouldn't touch in this area here. I'm going to skip right through. Kamada's an okay pick. I don't think he's exceptional. Germany's a very tough game. Probably skip him. Trossard, as I said, I think I prefer Arrascaeta from Uruguay first. So I don't think Trossard really has a place in many of our teams. If you have 2 5.5s in your team, I'd probably revise your strategy a little bit. And this is sort of how the squad... It does get considerably worse at this point here. There's only 1 or 2 picks left. I think Christian Fastnacht at 4.5 is good. Rodrigo de Paul, the best 5 million midfield in the game. Yeah, I think we're kind of grasping at straws here, but as I said, Christian Fastnacht is the last one I'd really consider the 4.5 range. Maybe you can go for one of the Ecuadorian players as well at 4.5, but I'd probably skip it because I think Ecuador's attack very, very dismal, to be honest. And high chance Qatar could keep a clean sheet there. Let's go defenders. A little bit more interesting. I think simply put, defenders, Sosa at 3.5, fantastic. I think David Raum for Germany, fantastic pick. I think at 4.5 you have also Ricardo Rodriguez as well. He's a great pick. I think at 4.5, obviously we've got Mela in our team, and I think he's a slam dunk. I think you don't even have to think about that. Who else do we have? I think I'd probably skip the Belgian defense. Honestly, they look pretty terrible. They look like they're playing a very high line, too aged. It kind of reminds me of the Argentina backline from when Mascherano was absolutely torn up by Mbappe in the previous World Cup. And yeah, I mean, you've got players like Vertonghen and Alderweireld. I don't really see how they can cut it. You can go for Alba Carvajal. Alba, I think there's a chance he could get rotated. Maybe we can see Laporte left back again. I don't know. I don't think that's going to happen. But Carvajal is probably more nailed, so I would go for Carvajal. Dumfries, I think, is an absolute lock. Lisandro Martinez probably not going to start. French national team defense, I'd probably skip. I think there's a lot of rotation threats there. First of all, on the left, you have the two Hernandez brothers competing for the left back position. On the right back position, I think Koundé and Pavard could both compete for that. And with the center backs, it's quite tougher because you have players like Saliba and Konate fighting for a spot on that team. So I'd probably skip on Pavard, even though a lot of people probably have gone for Pavard. I don't think he's a good option. I might be wrong. And then if we scroll down, look, I'd skip the Spanish centre backs that are not named Laporte. All of them give me a little bit of an aneurysm when I watch them play. Rudiger's okay. I think he's a little bit overpriced. As I say, go for David Raum for the left back position for Germany. Much better priced. If you really want to back a Brazilian, center back, I think Marquinhos is interesting. He's always very, very good at scoring goals. But Serbia, probably the most lethal attack in that group, even though Switzerland is there. I think Switzerland have just dropped off a little bit, so therefore Serbia is hopefully, with their best starting 11, one of the strongest teams in terms of attack. I would say even in Europe specifically. No options here. Really interesting. As I said, Pavard probably a skip, even though a lot of people will go for Pavard. Let's see what Pavard's ownership is. 14.3%. I'm hoping he doesn't play. I'm hoping that my understanding and my assessment of Koundé is that he starts over Pavard, but we'll see. Guerrero, we're not sure, right? Because you can play Joe Dalot, who's been playing very, very well at the right back position, therefore allowing Cancelo to play on the left. And that's going to be very tricky. So therefore, Rafael Guerrero, probably I'm going to skip on him. I'll skip on Joe Dalot. I'll skip on Nuno Mendes. I'd only really go for Cancelo or Costa. I think Estupinian is a fantastic 4.5 option as well. You could go for him. Very, very interesting punt. I mean, Qatar is actually one of the teams that are predicted to score the least goals in this tournament. So therefore, Ecuador for just one game versus Qatar seems fantastic. I would say Estupinian is a very good punt. I just think Mela is a little bit more interesting versus Tunisia. That's all. I think that's really it though in terms of defense. I don't think there are some crazy options. If we talk about clean sheet odds, we can definitely do that. So the clean sheet odds are here. Clean sheet odds, so you can see Argentina extremely high, England very high, France, as we said, we can't really pick the players. England, of course, we got Shaw and Trippier. Maybe I'm missing Shaw on my team. Maybe I'll live to regret it, but we'll see. Netherlands, of course, you have an option there, 45%, very, very low. But of course, that's why we've brought in Dumfries for the attacking potential, right? And we still have Costa from the Portuguese defense, who's very, very cheap. Spain, of course, you can see their clean sheet statistics are second, or not statistics, but odds are very high. And Mela, of course, with Denmark, still very high. Switzerland, of course, extremely high as well, 47%, and Uruguay too, very, very cheap keeper. So Belgium actually exceedingly low. No really interesting attacking options because I actually saw that Munier wasn't even playing the previous match. So there's a chance Castagne actually plays ahead of Munier, and therefore not so interesting there as well. Those are the kind of options. And Ecuador, a little bit of a low clean sheet percentage, but as I said, still quite interesting to go versus Qatar. And Brazil probably one to avoid until match day 3, especially if we don't know who the starting left backs and right backs are from a consistent point of view. So this is what I would say. I would say go for England defense, France, Spain. Probably France I'd avoid because I think Lloris is the only one who I can say is justifiably nailed. And then Denmark, we've got Mela. Uruguay, you've got Rocher. Germany, look, it's not extremely high, but at 42% to actually get someone who might attack it within David Raum, I think that's a decent punt if you wanted to go there. So those are my thoughts really on the defenders for match day 1. And we've got 2 minutes to the deadline. I think my team is laid out hopefully correctly. Yeah. Is Sarabia definitely starting? I would say so. I think Dalot is worth stopping. Worth skipping, sorry. Kane or Neymar? I would go Neymar for sure. Modric or Asensio, but if Asensio benched, I would go for Asensio. But if Asensio benched, then Bilba. So I guess go Modric then. Are you backing the Real Madrid players, Henry? 5 million under defender. Christian Fastnacht. 6.5 million defender. I would probably go for. I mean, you could go for Zielinski. I'm not super fond of it. You could go for Zielinski, but I would say Scott Olsen. That's 6 million. Sarabia starting. I would say so. Tellez is a good pick. I would say not for Matchday 1, but I think Matchday 3 potentially. Kane or Ansu. I think I would go for Kane if you had a choice. Okay, if it didn't affect the rest of your team, I'd go for Kane. Not necessarily Real Madrid, but if it's sent to a CF, then I rate his finish. You rate his finishing, Henry. I feel like you completely changed your mind on Asensio as a player, so I'm quite happy to hear that. It's not like I'm an Asensio super fan, but I'm just happy that Asensio probably doesn't get enough hate, or sorry, he gets too much hate for the Real Madrid squad for what he provides. He's a great super sub for us. So, Vinny or Neymar? Neymar by far. I think Neymar by far. I think I love Vinicius as a Real Madrid fan, but I mean Neymar's the main man for Brazil, always has been. So those are my thoughts. And then my team, as I said, as we're laying it out, is just going to be this, and hopefully, we go into the deadline and enjoy the first game of the World Cup. Are you guys all going to be watching Qatar versus Ecuador now? I would go for Doomfries. Isn't it too late now, guys? What's up with the deadline? It's in progress. Ooh. Okay, we're locked in. Pretty interesting. I mean, we get to see what... So can we transfer players? You can transfer players immediately. Okay. I don't know, Henry. This is super interesting, right? Because we get to test how the game is coded. If you get what I'm saying. You can still sub, like, can we immediately sub on sub off our players? Seems like it, right? Yeah, you can. All right, let's see if some of the strategies that some people have in terms of upgrading their team within the same match day actually works out. I'm not sure if it's possible. We'll only really know once one of our players plays. So that's going to be one thing that I'm going to have to keep my eye on. And then I'll be working on, of course, a Matchday 2 wildcard video for all of you guys. But I hope you guys have a wonderful time ahead. Enjoy the World Cup. We haven't had it for a long time. I know there's obviously a lot of controversy there, but hopefully we get to see some very good football. What kind of teams are you guys looking towards for winning? Obviously, I'm backing Spain, but I'm sure a lot of people will be supporting different teams here in the chat. The winner of this game will be one who found the most exploits. You got Ronaldo? Going for Portugal? Henry? That's pretty awesome. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Really enjoyed having you guys here. Apologies for some of the technical issues with the stream, but enjoy the football, and let's hope Spain wins. Germany to destroy FP Barcelona. I mean, come on, don't say that to me. Look, let's just say I want Marco Asensio to score versus Germany just for you, a Real Madrid player for you. But we can have some Barcelona mistakes. I don't mind that, as long as Laporte can carry us. A Man City player, not a Barcelona player. Why not? Asensio's going to have a scary World Cup. I hope so. Do you remember last time when we had prime Isco in a World Cup, and we completely wasted it because we completely sacked the manager? Yeah, we're completely locked in, Mark. This is my team as it stands. I hope Bruno Fernandes has a pretty tasty Matchday 1. That's kind of what I'm looking forward to. But as far as Asensio, hoping he pops off. Coolster, thank you so much. Yeah, I've really liked making World Cup content. As you guys can see, I've put a lot of content out there. I hope it really worked out for you guys. We'll be looking deeper into the data. As I said, 11FI and Schadenfreude's website is fantastic. They put a lot of visualizations out there for us to kind of interpret and make sure we can make the best World Cup teams possible. But the rules have been so crazy. I think they've completely changed how we've set up our teams. My team from the initial updated draft selection that I made has changed radically. I didn't even think I would put some Spanish players, some German players inside, but I had variations for my drafts that included a lot of them. So yeah, Denmark to win maybe. Dobber, that's a huge shout there. I hope it works out, because Eriksen, I think, was a huge cog and a huge piece for that Danish team, and they still had a great run in the Euros with arguably their best player missing. So hopefully Denmark can show something. But I think they're one of those teams that are very consistent actually in the world stage, but probably not strong enough to consistently win each game of the knockouts. And I think that's kind of where they might falter. 2016-17 was the only time we had a Messi and Ronaldo in our team. Yeah. All right. Okay, that's a little bit of a reach there, saying Isco is Messi, but I'll take it. And it was a pleasure to watch Isco at least in his prime in that World Cup there. So we won't see that again. Isco is now bathing away somewhere in Sevilla near the relegation spots in La Liga. So, but thank you, Isco, of course, for being a Real Madrid legend. I will take that 2-1 for Germany, a sensible goal. I hope you'll be fine with second place. I think as long as we get out of the groups, I'm fine with you, Abdullah. You know, Germany can go first place. Do you remember when Belgium and England played and no one wanted first place in their group because they didn't want to face Brazil? And then Januzaj decided to score a screamer finesse. My friend was actually there. He was a Belgium fan, and he didn't really like the game. Was a little bit boring, right? Because obviously he wanted Belgium almost like you're watching the game almost hoping for your team to lose because it actually has better World Cup seeding. But then of course he sees the Januzaj goal, doesn't get to see Hazard, doesn't get to see De Bruyne. Crazy situation. But yeah. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy. I will be actually tuning into Qatar versus Ecuador, and I'll actually maybe be doing some tactical analysis during this tournament. And maybe some specific kind of player analysis as well. So if we get some sort of understanding, a little bit of a better understanding of who's starting, what kind of tactical structures are being employed, any kind of interesting nuggets there for fantasy, I'll try and share that with you guys. And hope you guys take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend or wherever you are. Have a good night's sleep as well.